Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's another Thursday. It's your favorite time of the week. Keeping it Rio time. And today, this is episode 231. I'm super excited for today because we've got ourselves a fellow roofer, a roofing company owner, a fellow Midwesterner, and Aaron and I have known each other for all of about 3 minutes now, but I can feel like we're going to be buddies for life. So without any hesitation whatsoever, I'd love to welcome today's guest, the founder of the Indy Roof and Restoration Company in Indianapolis, Indiana, the one and only Aaron Christy. Aaron, welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing today?
Thank you so much, man. No, I'm having a great day, actually, man. We've had a lot of cool stuff going on here in Indy. I appreciate you having me on. These are always fun. So,
I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. That's the goal that I set forth with every episode. I've only done like 3 serious ones, and I didn't really like the way they turned out. So nothing serious about me. I just have a good old time, and shit, I'm on here doing a podcast, and we're going to talk about life and business and anything else that might come up. So
I'll tell you what, when you just have, a conversation with somebody and, no plans, it seems like sometimes you get the most out of those because you're just go wherever your brain actually takes you. You talk about the real stuff and joke around. And if you're having fun too, it's a lot more interesting to listen to than just, somebody trying to be serious and maybe a little boring.
Yep, no doubt about that. And I've had some people tell me some crazy stuff on this podcast over the last 4.5 years. I've had complete random strangers tell me about adulterous affairs that they had in the office with their coworkers and all kinds of craziness. So hopefully we got nothing like that on tap for today's episode, but we're going to talk about some pretty cool stuff. So let's just dive right in, my man. I always ask this to start every episode. Aaron, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just run with it and see where the direction takes us.
For sure, man. And cut me off anytime you want. If there's something that you want to talk about. So, I started, actually, let's go back even further. I grew up working for my family's business. And so here's the funny thing. We're roofing company owners. I didn't come from construction backgrounds. My brother it's my older brother. He's 15 years older than me. He owns a mortgage company and a lot of commercial properties, real estate. My father owns a publishing company, which I worked at. I graduated high school, went right to work for him. And it was a publishing company. What it is it helped people in Texas. They're LVNs, right?
All right.
Most of the other country, they're LPNs. So licensed vocational nurse or licensed practical nurse. And they ran a program that got people the credits they needed to transition from LPN or LVN to their RN and get them their Associates of Science in Nursing. And so for 16 years, I worked for my family's business, and I would travel around, meet with LPNs and LVNs. I worked in Texas for a long time, actually. Been on the Riverwalk in San Antonio and, the Alamo, all of that stuff. But I would travel around and meet people that were LPNs and LVNs and find out, I'd give them a sales presentation on how our program worked. I'd evaluate their transcripts. And then I'd find out what classes they need in order to finish their associate's degree. And then I'd sign them up for that. So that's what I did for a long time. I was kind of a public speaker, but to like 15 to 25 people at a time. It wasn't massive crowds.
I love that.
Yeah, I traveled all over the country doing it. So I got to see a lot of cool places. And my favorite thing to do, I'm a foodie.
Me too.
My favorite thing to do was like go somewhere. And I had this app, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And so I could, wherever I was, I could pull it up and see what restaurants in the area were on like 3 different shows, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and 2 other Food Network shows. And I got like a 2-hour lunch break. I had seminars at 9, 11:30, 4, and 6:30. So I got a break for about 2 hours, and I would go and just gorge myself. And I would be so full. And then I'm like, all right, I don't start again until 4. And so I would probably sit in my car from like 2 to 3 just trying to digest. But no, I did that for a super long time. Got married. I have 3 wonderful daughters, super outnumbered, wife and 3 daughters. And it just got traveling, home a week, gone a week, home a week, gone a week. It's a lot, and my kids are crying every weekend when you go to leave. Even when you're home for the weekend, you're not really there because you're mentally checking out. You got to pack, get ready to leave on Sunday. So I just eventually in around 2017 decided like, hey man, I got to do something else. And so you start looking at your options then. And did you ever switch and go from like, have you always been in roofing, or did you
Well,
go
it's
like,
my roofing story is crazy, to be quite honest.
yeah,
I have been in the industry for 27 years now.
yeah,
And the day that I got in the roofing industry, I had no clue that morning that I was getting into the roofing
the
industry.
same morning?
Yeah. And I've just never left. And basically, I used to run a crane. I delivered drywall over in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah,
And I have no idea what happened on this Friday, but I'm driving home and I must have just been in a bad mood. And, physical labor, it's fun, but it's not something you love to do every single day. So I must have had a bad Friday. I'm driving home and I see a roofing supply company on the side of the road here. They're hiring a CDL driver. I pulled in, I got a job as a roof loader, and I did that for 12 years. And that led me into some crazy opportunities. I got to move to Charlotte, North Carolina, and open a branch of that company. I got to be a branch manager for a few years and kind of see the infrastructure from that side, meet a whole bunch of cool people along the way, and some that aren't that cool. Uh, and then
oh,
I randomly ended up in Texas because one day I just, same thing. I was having a bad day at work, and one of our clients said something that set me off a little bit, and it just kind of went downhill pretty quickly. And I was a much younger, more irritable person at that point, I guess you could say.
right.
So I just walked in and was like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I had no backup plan. I was from Columbus and I moved to Charlotte. So I didn't know anybody. I had no friends, no family, nothing. My only connections were roofing companies that I had been, slinging materials to.
Working with, yeah.
And one of the guys reached out to me and said, hey, let's open a roofing company in New Orleans. So I was like, all right, I got nothing else going on today. Let me drive to New Orleans and see what's up. I ended up in New Orleans and I said, no, don't want to do this. This is a cool place to visit, but I don't think I would probably be alive if I ended up living there because it was kind of sketchy. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
So
I worked in Louisiana for 2 years. I would start from Shreveport and work all the way down to New Orleans. So I'm with you.
yeah, it was interesting. I'll
My
say that. That's the only
favorite
time in
food
my
on the
career.
planet, though.
Yes, absolutely. There's no question about that. That's the one time in my career that I almost got killed, though, literally, was in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to do that. I ended up in Texas very randomly, and I started selling roofs for a company over in College Station. It was very random. I just met a guy one day when I was down there randomly, and I said, hey, let me go get my stuff. It's in North Carolina, halfway across the country. I'm going to move back over here, and I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I ended up working with him for 7 years. And then in 2019, I got an opportunity to partner up with some buddies. We bought this company down here in San Antonio, Rio Blanco, which was actually out of business. And one of my good friends in the industry, Mike Code, who's a great consultant, wonderful friend, he kind of recommended me to him for that. And I agreed to do it. So moved to San Antonio. I didn't know anybody here either. I'd never been a day in my life to San Antonio. Faced with opening up a dead company with zero prospects, zero connections, zero network. And here we are. I built it up. It did well. And then we shut it back down again in 2023 and had a little bit of a separation of that partnership. Myself and another buddy out of Ohio bought it from those guys, and I resurrected it again in 24. So kind of a weird path, but I've been in and out of the industry a few times, and it just always drags me back in. In those little lulls, I've gotten a chance to do some really cool stuff. I went to Florida and got to be a part of a major conference and meet some cool people and be a co-MC of that and do some training and consulting as well. So I've been around the block once or twice, but once I got in, I've never been able to fully get out. And I'm thankful for that.
It seems like that's kind of the case. And I'd be curious, wish we could take a poll and see how many people accidentally fell into roofing. Because when I left my family business, I was going to start a furniture store. And I did. And so I started setting up and building that out. And in the meantime, a friend of mine who was not in roofing either, he was a tile contractor, had met this other guy that's like a one guy, one truck type roofing company. And he's also an adjuster. So he went to go like work a hurricane in South Carolina or something and just barely knew my friend was like, hey, here's this company. like, can you run it for me while you're gone, and you get paid, commissions or whatever. And so
Sure.
my friend's like, hey, do you want to sell some roofs with me? And I'm like, sure. I love selling stuff. I love learning. And so I'm like, cool. And so this is like early winter, like January of 2018. So I like learned a bunch of stuff on YouTube, and I'm like researching all this stuff and trying to learn about, roofing. Now I'm really good at marketing because I did that for 16 years with my family business. Right. And so I sold a couple roofs. I was reaching out to realtors, building some relationships. This guy comes back in town, nice enough guy, but didn't really mesh well. And my furniture store was completely up and running. So I was like, hey, I'm going to step away from roofing, focus on my furniture store. Started doing that. And then I had realtors that I had set relationships up with that kept calling me. Hey, I need a roof. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. If you guys need furniture, though, let me know. And I did that like 2 or 3 times. I can't remember. It was 2 or 3. And then finally, after I hung up that second or third time, I went, what am I doing? Like, I'm turning away business. I was like, let me just start an LLC on the side. I'll do some roofs whenever these people call me. And so I did that. I did 4 or 5 more roofs over the next 4 or 5 months, like nothing crazy. August 28th of 2018, we had a storm, and good hailstorm that went through north Indianapolis out east and down 70. And I was like, well, we had a storm. Let me see what I can do. And so I did some guerrilla marketing to a bunch of realtors, and my schedule blew up. I had realtors referring me to everybody. They were referring me to other realtors. They referred me to family. They were referring all this stuff. I'm looking at like the first day I had like 15 requests for inspections. Like the next day I have like 14 or 15. And I'm like, I can't work the furniture store and do this. And I'm like, I had to make a decision. What do I like more? And I came from a world where I'm traveling around the country doing sales and talking with people and helping people one-on-one. So is me sitting in an office at a desk selling discount furniture more like what I like to do, or is it traveling around the state, greater Indianapolis area, helping people and stuff that way? And I decided that was way closer to what my skill set was and what I like to do, because I did make the commitment that when I left the family business that I would always do something that made me happy. And so I went all in on roofing in 2018, man, and I handed off the furniture store to somebody else. And I've been doing it ever since, and I love it. And to your point, you kind of get pulled into it. I've brought in a lot of people to the roofing world, whether as sales reps or leadership or other things. And it seems like once somebody's in it, they stay in it. I've had a lot of sales reps that went to be adjusters, and I've had people that have got into supplementing, and it just kind of seems like once you're in it, it's such a cool place to be that you can always find a niche that works for you.
Yeah, it's an amazing industry, and it's crazy because I talked to probably a couple hundred different roofing company owners over the last several years, and I'd say 65-70% of us are all in the same boat. It's like, dude, I had no idea this was going to happen, but I'm so thankful that it did. Our industry is such a tight-knit community. There's so many cool people that are involved with so many great stories. And the thing I love about it is you don't have to be completely educated. You can kind of go in and learn as you go. Like you say, you get a couple good relationships and all of a sudden you're exploding. So let's talk about these early days. You get in there and it seems like you hit the ground running, but I know as someone that's done this and someone that's been around, it's not always that easy. So you decide to start the roofing company, you go all in with it. You've got multiple jobs, you've got multiple people reaching out to you all the time, but you're still a one-man show at this point. So tell me a little bit about the early days of Indy Roof and how you were able to kind of weather and, pardon the expression, that initial storm when you're still learning yourself. It wasn't like you could go out and hire a whole bunch of people and train them because, dude, I'm still trying to figure this out. So what was it like getting in there and having that huge, that early momentum that really got you moving, but still kind of being pretty dang new into it?
Yeah, man, it was, that's a good call out, man, because it's for the first 2 years, it was mostly just me learning everything that I could possibly learn. And I went to as many conferences as possible. I watched as many videos as possible. I reached out to people across the country. So I actually went out to Texas and I visited Avco and Heath Hicks and Ronnie Lawler, toured their facility. They were nice enough to have me out. I went to Nebraska, and John Dye actually linked me up with Dustin Biegler, and he became he became like a mentor of mine. First time I ever talked to him, he never met me. I just said, "Hey, John gave me your number. Said that maybe you could help me out. I'm newer in the industry." He spent over an hour with me talking to me that time, man.
I was gonna say, with Dustin, you were instantly his friend as soon as you said, "Hey, Dustin, how you doing?"
Yeah,
it was like, man, this guy's just salt of the earth, one of the greats.
Yeah, dude, he was amazing, and it's actually to this day, I still try to do the same thing for people. Like I've been in it, 7 years now. I do feel like I've learned a lot in the industry. I had a lot of other business marketing experience before I ever came into it. But anytime I can take a phone call with somebody that's just getting in it and try to help them, I always do, because I remember Dustin doing that for me and how much it meant to me and helped me avoid a lot of errors. And so I traveled around and did all of these things. And then the bottom line is you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna look like an idiot sometimes. I remember the first time I had a claim filed on thermal cracking, and the adjuster came out and like explained it all to me, and I was like, I'm an idiot. I thought it was all like wind creasing at the time, but once you feel like that, at least me personally, I never want to feel like that ever again. And so that's a lesson that I'm filing away, so that never happens again. And man, it was a very interesting 2 years just going through. And it was like the first year was just me. The second year, 2019, I had a couple part-time guys. But the biggest thing about it was I didn't have a problem staying busy, honestly, because I did create a relationship network that fed me. The biggest thing about it is, especially with realtors, like over communicating. They need everything now. So I'm doing that. And then when I brought on a couple of part-time sales guys, I'm not only doing my sales and like all the business stuff and Facebook ads and marketing, but then I'm helping them with supplements. Then I'm doing payroll for them. And so like there towards the end of 2019, I'm working like 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. And it was pretty crazy, but it got to a point where I felt like, hey, I feel like I'm in a good position. The bank account's in a good position. I feel like I have enough knowledge to where we can start trying to grow this a bit, and I can pass that on to other people and kind of steer this ship. So we decided to do that in 2020, enter COVID. That was kind of I don't know how it was for you guys, but it was kind of a blessing for me because I was not a door knocker. I was a marketer. And so when all of this stuff happened and they blocked everybody from knocking doors, we had another storm. And I hit some Facebook ads and some different things, and we cleaned up. We tripled in size. We went from 3.8 in 2019 to almost 10, like 9.9 in 2020 during COVID. Man, I feel like a lot of that was owed to COVID and that storm, because we weren't competing with people that were only door knocking at that time. And that was, I think, about the time the industry shifted a little bit to be more market heavy too.
Yeah, I agree. And COVID, I mean, it did pretty well for me as well. We started the company up in 19 and things were kind of slow, but we really kind of had a banner year in 20 as well. And we expanded into different markets. You talk about Avco. I had an office in Tyler there for a couple of years and had one in College Station and one here. And we were doing really well. And, things kind of happened along the way. It wasn't ever anything business related, but we condensed it back down to just this one location so we could kind of focus the attention. And I know the trials and tribulations going into it. So you start the company, you get a little bit of footing, you're kicking butt, you're instantly doing, big numbers, which a lot of companies never get anywhere close to what you're doing in that short period of time. The growth and the expansion of the company comes naturally, but I also understand scaling from one thing to a completely different thing that's 3 times bigger. There's all kinds of problems that can come up from that as well. There's all kinds of things that you don't think about until you're stuck in that moment. One of the key things that I always think of is cash flow. you're working in insurance market and you're relying on depreciation checks and you start getting all these things going. Do you have anything to deal with as far as that stuff goes in your early days? Anything that you didn't really take into consideration? Because really, just a couple years earlier, you never even once thought that you'd be running a roofing company. So there's got to be a few little things along the way. But when you grow up that quick, I'm sure that you probably had some sleepless nights and probably had some thoughts about, oh my gosh, maybe furniture wasn't so bad.
I still do. But no, cash flow was never a problem for us. I made sure, like I said, before I ever hired a single person outside of two sales reps that were straight commission and part-time. But before I ever hired a full-time person, I had multiple six figures in the bank. I wanted to make sure that we have that there, because I know at that point you're bringing somebody on. Now somebody and their entire family is dependent on you to have their paycheck there that week, no matter what, right? And so we wanted to be safe there. And then I didn't take much of a salary for the first 3 or 4 years. I took $50,000, and then I would use my card for gas and food and things like that. But I was fortunate enough to have some money saved up for my previous job, and so it really gave me the ability to build that up. But I'll tell you what I did learn is I was extremely trusting that people would just do whatever they were supposed to do. I had not managed a lot of people. I was in a sales and marketing position. And then when I finally brought on somebody that had kind of been in that position, who's my COO now and a partner in some businesses and stuff with me, he immediately looked into a couple things that I was doing and had found out that the person that had been in the accounting role and the sales role and the scheduling coordinator were all working together to basically rob me. And so that got very interesting. There were some felonies levied on those people. So that opened my eyes to a lot, where it's like, hey, man, and these are one of the people somebody I'd known my whole life, So that was one of the hard lessons I learned very quickly. And it's not enjoyable. It's not something that I wanted to do. Even they couldn't believe that I called the police, but at the same time, I can't set a standard that you're going to rob me for tens of thousands of dollars of that we found out about. Who knows? Because when it's the accountant, they can just go in and put that it was paid. And so, we don't really even know how much was lost, but you can't set that precedent. It's something that you have to do. That was my tough first lesson.
That's a tough one. And I know a lot of people that have been in this industry for long periods of time that find this out years in. So, I mean, I guess if you're going to have a silver lining, it's like, well, at least we got that out of the way early. And now we at least know what could happen and we understand and put the safeguards in place. And I respect that, because, it is the industry. You have to trust a lot of people. And I think sometimes people start seeing these numbers and they think, well, he's not even going to miss it, or I need this and I'll pay it back at some point, whatever. I've seen it myself, not in the roofing business, but I've seen it in the distribution side. And it is what it is. Good people can become bad people really quick when they're tempted. And,
for sure.
Being able to overcome that at an early age is definitely something that'll help moving into the future. So we get through COVID, we do all this. You've had banner years. You've now blown up to a $10 million company. What do we do after COVID? Because things kind of change a little bit, the way that the marketing, like you said, it became more social media marketing during COVID, because that's what we had. Mm-hmm. I'm super blessed for that, because that's what I used to build the brand with Rio Blanco's Facebook. And I went and friend requested 1,500 random people in San Antonio when I got here. And I think 1,100 of them accepted. And now they probably all feel bad that they see my stuff all the time. But that's how I built the brand. And it sounds like you kind of took a similar route with that. Built the brand up, got some stuff going. Now you've got an established company that I'm assuming when you start doing 10 million, you've got some other things that are in the mix, some different overheads and things like that. The market kind of takes a little bit of a shift after the storm and it slows down a little bit. What's it feel like to you now as a guy that's been up there at that high level, thinking, well, wait a minute, I thought this was just going to go on like this forever. And maybe it has ever since, but I doubt it. There's always those hills and valleys, We get back down into a valley or kind of a steady season. what's it feel like at that point for you as now someone that says, okay, I understand what we can do, but we got to have the work in order to be able to do it. And was there any sense of concern as far as any of that goes?
So it's funny. I did a podcast at a conference with John Dye, and it was me and Dustin Beegler, and we were on it because we were talking. And John
was that at RoofCon in Houston?
He had the truck and stuff out there, and he had the whole setup there.
I was on that one too. That event.
Yeah. So we're just talking. I'm just talking to Dustin. Hey, how's it going, buddy? And then John's sitting there, and he's like, "You guys just want to do a podcast together, real quick? We got time." And I'm like, "Sure." So we hop on it, and we're talking. And Dustin was the first one on that podcast that pointed it out to me. He's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "That's right when I hit the 9 point whatever million." And he goes, "And now you got other problems, which is it was sales, and now you got to deal with operations and fulfillment." Right. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we're running into right now, man. It's like making sure that you keep the quality up with all of the sales. And we had a really good conversation on that. But that was the first time that I realized okay, this isn't a problem that's solely mine, right? Like this is a common problem. He picked it out of the hat by me just saying the numbers that I'm doing. And he goes, hey, these are things that we ended up kind of working through, but we say something here now because of that. But it's focus equals growth, right? And so when you focus on the sales and you put your energy into the sales go really well. And then maybe the operation suffers. So then you turn over and you start putting your focus into the operations, and everybody's focusing on that, and maybe sales decline a little bit. And so it's a constant battle to try to get the SOPs in place to keep these things fully functioning at a high level. But no matter what you put your focus on, it's always going to do better.
I agree. And you're spot on. You focus on one and the other one kind of lacks a little. Then you realize that you go over here and it's always a constant,
that's your
back and forth.
You're talking about. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, I'll tell you. Makes me question my sanity from time to time.
I was going to say fun's a strong word.
Well, I'm a eternal optimist. I always look at things on the bright side and say fun. Because if I was realistic, I'd be like, what the hell's wrong with you, man? You're crazy. You could go work somewhere and make a nice paycheck and be happy and do your thing. But I don't think I could at this point. I think I love this industry so much.
Yeah, I think we're gluttons for it, man. And if you're anything like me, it's okay, yeah, we clock out for the day technically, but you go home, never stop thinking about it. You're always processing what to do. I wake up at 2:00 in the morning out of a dead sleep. I'm like, oh, I need to do this. My brain's still processing everything while I sleep.
I think that's a good trait of a positive leader. And I think that you've got the mindset for it. You've obviously developed the company into a very successful brand in your market. And now we'll kind of look at what's going on right now in modern times with you. You've built this thing up. You've done all this stuff. You kind of, stumbled your way into the industry, found yourself a good spot, became a leader. Now you're, one of the most recognizable brands in your market, which is awesome. You start building a team. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this team building process, because it is kind of tough to find the right people to put into the right places. So you start this off. I'm guessing probably one of the first things you hired was maybe an office manager, someone that could kind of oversee that stuff so you could focus more on the sales aspect being your strength. Let's talk a little bit about how you go about finding sales reps for a still relatively new but highly successful roofing company. Do you hire within the industry? Do you look for people that have specific traits outside of it? What's your mindset as it pertains to bringing people into your roofing company in a sales capacity?
Well, I'll tell you, it's shifted. It's different every year. It's different because the industry changes and us as an organization changes, right? We were primarily insurance. We're in the process of, we're 50% retail and 50% insurance right now. We'd like to be 80, 90% retail. And then, the insurance stuff gets funneled into the costs, for that, and still deal with some insurance when we have to. But because of that, every year it's shifted, right? So before, you're just looking for bodies that are good with people, can have good communications and are likable, right? And then as it progresses now, hey, we need people that are are willing to go through a process and that are coachable. We need people that can learn a sales process and ask the questions, and do a needs assessment and go through a presentation and overcome objections. So every year it's been a little bit different. And I think because of that, the people that you have working, some of them can transition and some of them can't, right? And we've had some guys that have been here the entire time that are amazing. And then we've had some guys that couldn't switch from the insurance mindset or even the doing whatever I want mindset to the W-2 mindset of, hey, we're going to go out there and we're going to work every day, instead of just doing whatever you want. So it's interesting to see that. But currently, we're looking for people, and we've always looked for people outside of the sales industry, roofing sales industry. I don't think that I can think of we've ever really hired anybody that came from the industry before. But we go through and now we're looking for people with some sales experience, not roofing necessarily, but somebody that's got that, DI personality, that's got some sales experience. They know what it's like to be a professional, because now we're really leaning into like a real sales system, not an order taker, to lean into that more retail side.
Yeah, and I think that is so crucial. I talk to owners all over the country on a regular basis, and I've done the same thing here. San Antonio is, I guess, what you'd consider primarily an insurance market. There's a lot of insurance restoration here. We're just wrapping up a job in Weatherford, Texas right now. My partner was just giving me a call earlier. We're getting paid in full for it, and then after everything clears, we're going to send the depreciation off, and we've kind of found a good model to where we're able to do that, and it's not so difficult. And I always tell people, you get that first storm, unless you have a real good mind about it and you really understand what you're doing, that looks like the biggest blessing you could ever get. But in most cases, it's a huge curse, because all of a sudden you're, overextended on everything. You're upside down on a bunch of stuff. Your material bills still need to be paid. Your crews still need to be paid. You don't even understand how to get the depreciation, but you need the money as quick as you can. You send it in, and then it's like, well, okay, we'll send it to you when we get a chance. And, there's never a huge sense of urgency on the other side. So I think that transformation from insurance into retail has been absolutely crucial. And I think it's going to keep getting more retail based in the coming years, which I'm extremely thankful for. Because like you say, that really requires skill. There was a time when, I kind of hate to say this, but we would joke and say, you could hire anybody to go sell an insurance roof. You just have to teach them a couple words and say, we'll do it for whatever they pay. And you just give us the deductible and we'll handle everything else. And those days are gone. And I'm grateful for that, because I think it's going to bring a lot more quality to the industry. It's going to bring a lot more people in that are going to see it as an opportunity now to really take advantage of their skill set that they've developed. Before we were just a bunch of dumbass roofers.
Exactly.
And rightfully so. I know a lot of people in the industry that agree with that. And I think moving forward, that's a huge thing. So that's going to be your focal point. What's that look like in your market right now as far as retail? Because we're still kind of shifting the homeowners. They just had a storm a few years ago. You were there telling them, hey, we're going to do it this way. And then the next time you come out or you meet some new folks, they say, well, wait a minute, that's not how we did it the last time. Why are we doing it like this? What's that transformation look like from your side as a sales organization that's now saying, hey, we're going to do this as a retail deal instead of doing it the way that we did before? Do you get any blowback from homeowners?
I don't think so. I think one is, hey, the insurance industry is shifting. They're not paying for more. It's got bigger deductibles. You have the RPS policies, ACV policies, all of that stuff. And if it's somebody that I personally worked with before too, and I'm like, and by the way, before we were newer in the market, we got you the best roof that we could get you for insurance costs then, but we never gave you options to get something nicer, right? Like we gave you Owens Corning shingles and, your everything that you needed. Right. But we didn't offer you, class 4 polymer modified shingles. We didn't offer you standing seam roofs. We didn't offer these lifetime pipe boots that are legitimate. Like these things are gnarly. Right. So we didn't give you these extra things. And if you don't want to, cool. But it's our responsibility to offer them to you because you're back here getting another roof from us 5 years later. If I would have done that then, we might not be having this conversation right now, you know?
Yeah, man, I love that. The accountability and just saying, hey, we just didn't quite know everything that was available. We didn't have our processes in place. Now we do. The roof we just finished a couple minutes ago is a class 4. She's got a couple nice big attic breeze units on the house that weren't there before. The lady's super stoked. She's making brownies for my crew. I was a little disappointed. It's about 5 hours from where I'm at. And I thought, man, I'd have driven over there if I know she was making brownies, but sometimes it just happens that way. And I agree. I think now being able to offer more opportunities for the homeowners to be more efficient, to give them more durable products, it's much more viable now than it was when everybody was coming in saying, oh yeah, you've got a architectural shingle, or even if you had a 3-tab, you know, the big thing here was we're going to give you a free upgrade and we're going to put an architectural. But they never really gave you much beyond that. It was like, you know, down here in Texas, it's the Wild West. There's no licensing. Anybody can start a roofing company. You see some really crazy stuff down here. But I think now as we start to evolve into this new era, which I think is going to be the best era yet of roofing, other than when everybody had a $500 deductible and they'd just be like, yeah, just do it. Here's the money, you know. That was kind of cool. But it was for selfish reasons. It was just easy.
You know, it's funny. It's one, I agree with you. I think this is going to bring a lot of professionalism into it because doing the sales and the things that you do requires a little bit more that goes into it. You have to have processes, you have to have systems, and then you need your work to, if you're going to continue to have good branding, you're going to need your work to reflect the sales process that you did. So I can only see it bringing the professionalism up. But it's funny, dude, when you're going through this, you think like, oh, well, people, you know, aren't going to pay $20,000 for a roof that they can get insurance to cover. We're seeing more and more often that people would almost rather pay $150, $200 a month than to pay a $2,000, $2,500 deductible at once. It's like, no, give me even if they go through insurance, give me the 15 grand that I'm going to get from them. I'll sign a $20,000 finance deal with you. And I'm going to go to Hawaii and pay $150 or $200 back a month. You know, people have money. There's people out there that you look at and you go, oh, maybe, you know, the house, you know, they're not keeping up on it. They may not have, they got money. A lot of them do. If they don't, they got credit and they're willing to do payments. It's instant gratification today. You know, people want the bells and the whistles because you have, is it a want or is it a pain point, right? Either one of those they have to do. If they want it, they want all the bells and the whistles. That's why they give you cars at the car lot that have all the extras on it, right?
Absolutely.
If it's a pain point, it's something that you got to deal with, even if you don't want to, right? So, you know, I think it's one of those things you got to look at where, hey, not everybody wants to go spend the money on a roof, but once you really start going through it with them and explaining it, and it's a half to a third of the outside of your house. It does look a lot better when you do it most of the time. So.
I love that. You're spot on. People are more willing to spend more money over the course of time to have a smaller payment now. And God bless America. You know, we've got the opportunities to do that for people. And we do that quite a bit. You know, like I said, we just got paid in full for this job. The lady was more than happy to pay for the upgrades. You know, we're not doing it for the insurance proceeds and throwing in free attic breeze and free class 4 and free this. No. We're going to give you the system. I've got it set up now to where we basically will give you a good, better, best on the front end. Yeah. And then it's like, hey, if your insurance covers the good, awesome. You know, all you have to pay is your deductible. This is what you'll get. If you want to add this and you want to go up to this level, then there's going to be an out-of-pocket expense. And people are more receptive to that than I think a lot of roofing salespeople really believe. And I've never had any problems with it. We don't have any collection issues. People are more than happy to pay, and they understand that they're getting a quality product, a quality company. I tell them, hey, just go Google me. You know, I've been around for a long time. I got a great reputation. I know my stuff. And if you don't like me, then cool. There's 9 million other people you could work with. But usually the good ones that you want, they're attracted to that, and they recognize, hey, this is a guy that's going to be around. He's going to answer the phone if I have a problem. This is what we're paying for. We're not paying for the shingles on the roof. And my big thing I tell people is as soon as we're done with the roof, you can go knock on my homeowner's door and ask them what brand of shingles and what color is on your house. And 9 out of 10 have no idea. I went with what Chuck told me. Chuck said it had Scotch Guard. He said it was going to be cool. He said that my neighbors were going to be jealous. And he put a sign out front and said that this was advertising that we were the smartest people in the neighborhood. And you saw the emotion, and then you can justify it later with the logic. But I think that's a great way to go. And extensive sales training kind of helps with that. So we're going to kind of talk a little bit more about the sales aspect of it. Like you just said, this now gives us an opportunity to be professionals. We're not just, whatever you want to call that are out there slinging roofs. Over the years, I've been called every name in the book by homeowners, and it's an earned reputation. And I tell people our industry has done this to us, and it's our time to clean things up. So now we're going to go to a more professional approach, but we have to get these people into the industry. We have to show them what this is all about. We have to provide a solid opportunity. You just said that you like to hire without any roofing sales experience. So this begs the next question, Aaron. How do you bring quality people into the roofing industry that have never done it? Kind of like yourself at one point, hey man, you want to go sell some roofs? Or do you have a specific method that you use to find the quality people that you want and bring them in? What's your hiring process look like for your sales?
And I tell you what, I wish there was a silver bullet, but I think this is an area that all people struggle with. It's finding the people. Because here's the thing. You tell everyone, in roofing sales, you can make more than a doctor. You can make a ton of money. But it's the hardest that you'll ever have, hardest time you'll ever have starting a job, because you got to build your pipeline. You got to learn everything about roofing. Then you got to get into the sales and actually start contracting stuff. So you're doing like 3 things at once. So if you're going to be successful quickly and not have that huge lag period, you need to be working, 12 hours a day. You need to go out and do the training during the day and go out, after the first week and start building your pipeline, and doing different things. And, you have to bring a lot of people in, and then some people even telling them this is what you're going to do, start doing it. And then they're like, oh, maybe this is a little more than I want to do. It sounded great when I heard that I could make $250,000 a year. But now that I'm working 10, 12 hours a day and banging doors and walking into insurance offices and whatever else, I've decided that it's not worth it. Let me go back to my $60,000 a year job, right? So I think anybody has a tough time with that. We've tried several different things. We have referral bonuses for people that work with us. If they bring somebody on, they get up to $5,000. It's like $500 after they complete training, $2,500 after they sell X number of dollars, and another $2,000 after they sell X number. That way it's paying for itself, and it's not like come in and collect the money, then they quit. We did that. We've had some success with that. We have done, I think the worst what we've ever done is the Indeed. It's just like a lot of those people don't show up. Then we've had a lot of people show up, they accept the job, then never show up to training. That's not been great. Recently we were referred to by a very successful company. We were referred to a recruiting company, and they pulled in their first 5 people for us, and it's going really well. We're 3 weeks into that company. We've lost one of them by our choice, because they were late a couple times, and everyone can't be on time during training. That's not a good sign.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what the key to that recruiting company is. They just used Indeed and stuff as well. But the difference is they catch people while they're interested. So if somebody submits something, they have a team that they call them immediately and interview them immediately. If it's the right fit, they have them call us within a day, or we call them with they give it to us to schedule with them within a day, to meet with them. And then when they were doing that, I said, hey, we've always in the past gone, okay, well, we're going to go through everything, and then we'll reach back out and let you know. And then some people accepted offer, some people didn't, some people have moved on. I said, hey, we're trying to one call close with roofs right now. It's one call close with people. If you find somebody really good, let's not go, oh, we'll call you in a week. Like, have them sign their employment paperwork on the spot. And so we did that this time. So everything was, they reached out while they were interested. They got a call from the recruiting company. We talked to them the next day, had them in for an interview immediately, and closed them on the spot. We extended six offers. 6 of them accepted, 5 of them showed up, and 4 of them are doing extremely well. So that's kind of the process we're on. But they meet what we're looking for, the requirements of the DI personalities, and some sales experience, and just like kind of everything we were looking for personality wise.
I love that. And to have that process in place is huge because, like you say, you can go out there and you can get all kinds of people that say they're interested, that show up, and then they become all kinds of headaches or they don't come back. And I guess the next thing I'd like to ask you, as a guy who's, scaled a company to that level, that's got a team. I don't know how many sales reps you've got, but I'm sure you've got more than a couple at this point, right?
Yeah, I think we're at 14.
14. That's pretty dang good. I'm not going to lie. I at one point had almost 20. And one thing that happened was you start to recognize that if you don't pay close attention, some of them can kind of become rebels. They can have their own mindset. A lot of people in the sales aspect of the industry sometimes feel like they're owed more than they've earned. There's all kinds of entitlement that goes on. And sometimes it doesn't take a lot of success for someone to all of a sudden believe that they're a superstar. And then they kind of start rocking the boat, becoming problematic. And they always say, one bad apple can spoil the bunch. So throughout your process here, throughout this building stage of your company, have you had to deal with anything like that with any particular sales reps that have come in, start off awesome? I think the most common advice I give to people is sometimes you got to fire your top producing sales rep. And It sounds stupid. It sounds crazy, but everyone gets back. They're like, yeah, that was actually what we needed to do, because they got a little too big for their own britches and they started, poisoning everybody around. So is that something you've had to deal with at this stage?
Multiple times. So, and it's a lot of it's like, hey, we've made the shifts, like I said, over the years. So when we first started, it was like, hey, it's $10.99, doesn't cost me anything really besides a little bit of software, sell whatever you want, whenever you want type of deal. But as you start getting bigger, there's more and more softwares and more things that go along with it. And then now you're paying, insurance for a $15 million company, as opposed to a $3 million company. Like, bills grow. Right.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't have it just go, well, whatever you want, whenever you want, and I'll just keep paying for all your stuff. So when we switched to W-2, I was like, hey, I was very clear with the people. I said, hey, the W-2 is the catalyst to what's going to be happening. Once we switch to W-2, we're going to show up to work in the mornings. We're going to start doing these different things. We're going to have requirements. So if that's not, I know that's not what you were hired for. So if that's not something you want to do, we can hug right now and part ways. But if you do stay on, just know we are going to be changing the way that we do things. And just so I didn't want any any confusion at all, like any miscommunication. And so we actually had a lot of people that stayed on and they wanted to do the do thing. And then we ended up losing quite a few because that either some by their choice and some by our choice, because they couldn't go through the things. And then the people that are in the top, if they're doing things a specific way that aren't the way that we want to do it, and they think I don't have to do it because I'm a top guy, you can't get rid of me. Every single time we've got rid of a top guy, a new one emerges. It's like the person, I don't know how it happens, but it's like every single time you get rid of that one, and this person, especially I guess with our company, we're more of a lead-based company as opposed to like a door knocking company. Like I try to get these people to build relationships, and we're doing really good on it right now. But for the last few years, they haven't. So I'm like, if you leave, those leads are just going to go to the next person. So with the exception of maybe what's in your pipeline, if you went somewhere else, it's not going to affect us a ton. And I think that we offer more people, more for a lot of people than a lot of roofing companies do, which is what we invest in leads and training and bonuses and everything like that. So I've had about maybe 14 or 15 sales reps over the years that have left, and I think thought I'm going to go work over here. I think there's 2 of them that I'm aware of that are working for another roofing company. currently. Most of them have went to another roofing company, failed miserably, and either were let go, whereas maybe I let it drag on way too long, or they quit, realized the grass isn't always greener type of deal. But to your point, yes, 100%. And I think that you'll always have to deal with that. If there's a cure out there that keeps the top sales rep from getting a big head and doing whatever they want, and let me know. But I got one guy right now that's been with me since the very beginning, that he sold 300,000 last month. I wish you could have 15 of him, because he needs process. He wants process, and so you train him with the process, and he thrives in that world, because he doesn't want to make up his own stuff. And because he's doing the process and the things that we're telling him, he's killing it. And so it's like, guys, the process works if you follow the process. And so, yeah, man, it's one of those things. I think that's a forever battle that you try to get better on. You want people to be happy. You want people to enjoy the work while working hard and doing the things that we need to be successful as a company.
Yeah, no doubt, my friend. That's an amazing perspective on it, and I appreciate that. And you're right. It seems like when you cut the top off, there's 2 or 3 that were kind of lurking down there that just were waiting to explode and blossom. And maybe they felt they were being held down to a degree, or maybe they just weren't confident enough to go up there and try to, punch the big dog in the mouth. And when the big dog leaves, they step up. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I love your point about people that leave thinking that they've got it all figured out, and then they end up going somewhere else and it's a complete disaster, and they realize, made a mistake. But sorry, guys, you made the mistake. That's on you. So
you weren't as mean as you thought.
It's not. And I think a lot of people fall into that category where, this owner's an idiot. I can go do something bigger than this, and I can be better than that. And it's not as easy as it seems. I definitely am aware of those pitfalls and some of the things that can come of that mindset. So sure. I've grown up a lot over the years, but at one point in my life, I thought I was smarter than the owner of the company I worked with too. And
this is part of the deal. I thought that when I worked for my family business. Don't tell my dad. No.
Right. I was going to say at one point, and it's today, but still we're good on that. So I really appreciate this. You and I have been chatting for almost an hour, and I told you, I respect your time. I want to keep it around an hour. I have 2 final things I'd like to discuss before we wrap this bad boy up.
Okay.
We've talked about the beginning. We've talked about the early days. We've talked about your growth. We've talked about all the development, the explosion into a major market and becoming a recognizable brand. The obvious next question is, Aaron, what does the future look like for you and your company? Have you given any thought to what the brand is going to look like 3, 5, 10 years down the road? Now that you've gotten yourself in and you've actually made it past the 1, 3, 5, and you're on your way to that first decade, what's it look like in the future for you as a guy that's got a family, planning on sticking around for the duration? Or is it something you're looking at maybe building and saying, hey, you know what? I'm ready to call it a day at a certain point in my life. And what does that plan look like to you, if you've even thought about it yet?
It's hard not to think about it. You have 10 PE companies that are harassing you every week, and brokers and everything else. My primary goal is one, it's one bite at a time. Like right now, we're trying to do this transition to retail so we're not storm dependent, so we don't have bad years. We could try to say, hey, we know if we get X number of leads, we close at this close rate, this is what we're going to make this year, right? And project that stuff out. Right now, I enjoy my job. And as long as I enjoy it, I'm cool. Like, I don't mind doing it. I enjoy coming into work. I enjoy being around people. I enjoy working with the people that I work with. If it ever stops being enjoyable for me, that'll be a conversation, but until then, I'm just going to keep plugging away at the problems at hand.
I love that mentality because you're right. This is so fun. It's one of those things where we'll have a couple days where it's like, oh man, I hate this. Why am I doing it? But then something cool will happen and you're like, you know what? I love this. This is awesome. It's the most amazing opportunity and it's mine and I can build it into whatever my vision ends up being. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. It's what I love about our industry. So I definitely appreciate your mindset on it. And the last question I have for you, this is always my favorite one of the entire episode. You and I have 347 mutual friends on social media. Okay. Obviously, our industry is a pretty big family. We all kind of love each other and we're all good buddies and so on and so forth. But let's just say that there's someone here, number 348 or whatever, is watching it today. And they're like, you know what? I like this guy, Aaron. He's pretty cool. Maybe it's someone that is in Indy. I know some people in Indy and in surrounding markets that are thinking, hey, you know, maybe I would be good at doing roofing sales. What are some ways that people can follow you, follow your journey, maybe get a hold of your company if they need a new roof on their house, if they need to, you know, potentially live their wildest dream and become a roofing representative and grow with you and your brand? What are some of the ways that you can be found out there in the world?
I mean, I have all the social medias, but I pretty much, the one that I work and actually follow is Facebook. My kids think I'm old. It's the Facebook's the old people stuff, but
it's where the business is.
Yeah, it's where all my friends are and everything that I do. So I follow that really close. So anybody can add me on there and instant message me if they want to come visit or have a conversation or do a podcast or just get on the phone and talk about stuff. I'm open. I love talking business. I typically learn something myself, even if it's from a new guy, because there's things that people are doing that's different, right? Even if it's a saying or a phrase or something little. And then, like I said, the commitment I made because of what Dustin Beegler did for me, I want to do that for other people. But just add me on social media. You can email me, Aaron at indyroofrestoration.com. Just hit me up on Facebook. So I appreciate it and I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, me too. I think at this phase of my career, that's really my biggest contribution is how I can help people. And I take a lot of pride in the fact that I get a lot of phone calls, a lot of texts from people reaching out and just asking me, you know, what would you do or what have you done or would you do this? What are your thoughts on this process or this program? And I absolutely love this. It's so much fun. I'm thankful for the day that I had a bad Friday 27 years ago, because here we sit on episode 231 of Keepin' It Rio. And I want to thank you for taking the time. You and I actually are not friends on social media, but I'm actually number 348. So
you're 349.
Yeah. I'm going to be that guy today. And I appreciate you taking the time to be here, my friend. It's always a pleasure to chat with folks in the industry, to make new friends and to kind of get their story and their perspective. I give an open invitation. If you ever want to come back on Keepin' It Rio, there's always an opportunity. My goal is 2,500 episodes. So I still got a ways to go. And like I said, a year or two from now, when I take over Joe Rogan's spot at the top, you're going to be able to tell your friends that you were here.
So. I was on that. Yeah, no, I mean, one bite at a time, man. And so you're what, 1/10 of the way there?
I'm a 10th of the way, just about. And it's been a great ride. You know, if I'm still doing this 36 years from now, then hey, great. I may have to end up doing something more, maybe more episodes or something every week, but I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. And I appreciate everyone that takes the time to be here. So thank you for that. Before we clock out, the one thing I got to do is every week I have to make sure that I say thank you to my sponsors, Roofer. I know you're a roofer guy as well. You're showing me the cup earlier. I'm actually quite envious. Anybody at Roofer in the marketing department, if you see this, I'd like to drink out of one of those as well.
I didn't mean to get you in trouble.
That's okay. I actually have one of those. They send me all kinds of cool stuff. And they've done great for me. Roofer's been my sponsor for 3 years. I love everybody over there. I've been an active user of their program for 6.5 years now, when it was just a free measurement tool that you could go on there and type in an address and do your own thing. And watching them grow into one of the biggest in the industry has been so cool for me. And the relationships I've built have been amazing. So thank you to Roofer. Thank you to all the people that watch Keepin' It Rio. It's amazing. I was at Win the Storm the other day, and I had 8 or 10 people that I'd never met before that came up and said, hey, you know, I saw the episode with so-and-so, or I love watching your podcast. You know, you're you're crazy and funny, and you have a lot of energy, and I like that. So thank you to everybody that watches. If you're in roofing, if you're not in roofing, just anybody in general, I appreciate you guys. And I always end every episode with this. And before I do, Aaron, stick around for just a second after I end the recording so we can kind of wrap up our combo. Sure. But ladies and gentlemen, you know, the corniest tagline in the history of the world, keep on keeping it Rio. And we will see you guys next Thursday for another awesome episode. Aaron, thank you for your time, and we'll see you guys later.
Thanks.
We're Roofer. We know that managing a roofing business can be chaotic, so we created a single platform with all the tools you need to easily run your roofing business. Stop switching between multiple different softwares and experience streamlined operations from lead to payments in hours instead of days. Visit roofr.com to get started for free today.